we have a little game where we have a bag full of controversial statements. If you want to take one out and read it, we'll get started. So buying animal products is morally wrong. Do you agree or disagree?
I'm vegetarian, I'm not vegan. I wouldn't say it's morally wrong.
Why are you leaning towards that statement being wrong?
I mean, obviously, my personal lifestyle because of what I eat, but also I guess as long as the animal isn't put in harm's way or anything, then frankly, if the product itself, you can get the product without putting the animal at harm, then that product can be put to use. Which at that point, I would say, yeah, you can use example like eggs.
So yeah, there's two things there. The first thing is
I could be wrong, by the way.
Yeah, of course, we all could be on
really
anything,
wrong.
I guess.
Yeah.
No, that's honest of you to say. But firstly, you said your lifestyle because you're consuming eggs. Do you think whether or not you're consuming eggs determines whether it's moral to buy animal products, or do you?
Okay, well played with the question. Good question, bro. I would say, in terms of personal perspective, your morals are changing depending on what you do. But in a bigger perspective, my consumption probably doesn't have a wide effect on how other people see morals. If it's about my personal morals, then I think what I do affects how I would think about it.
Right.
But bigger perspective, no.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. You don't think there's like a causal link between your behavior and what's moral? Like, say if I was someone who slapped with people in the face, that wouldn't be an argument for it being moral to slap people in the face.
If you were to slap someone in the face, and then was someone to ask, is that morally right or wrong?
Yeah, so if someone said, is it moral to slap people in the face? And I said, well, I slap people in the face. You don't think that would be a point towards it being moral?
Yeah, no, that wouldn't be a point towards it being moral.
Just to be clear, so the fact that you consume animal products doesn't mean, I mean, there could be other reasons why it's moral, but that in itself you don't think means that it's moral.
Yeah, just on the fact that I consume them doesn't necessarily mean it's moral.
Right. The second thing you mentioned was that, like, you're talking about harm, and if you can get an animal product without causing harm, like without causing suffering to an animal, you can't see any moral issue with it.
I guess not. Yeah. If the animal is basically fine, then no, I don't see anything morally wrong with it, because at that point the animal has not been harmed and all that, and there is a product that you have now, and you're having it for consumption, which that's natural. Like,
what about if you were to see evidence that animals on farms, like in the UK, are suffering a lot?
Well, in that case, firstly, especially depending on this and the parameters you look at, if they're suffering a lot, then yeah, you can boycott the product. Because at that point, suffering in general for any living creature should not be, I don't think it should be a thing. It's not something, I've endured suffering, like in some way or form, we all can endure some sort of suffering. It's not a necessity. And so as a result, I think that, yeah, if the animal has actually been showing hurt and there's proof, there's like unmitigated proof, like you can't beat it, then you can boycott the product. That's put down. Either find a new supplier where the animal isn't being hurt, or at that point, you might want to consider boycotting the product, because overall, yes, people may like their meat, people may like whatever they eat. That's personal opinion to them, but to me, if something is actually being harmed for me to enjoy it, I'm just feel like, well, you really can find substitutes. Find a substitute, bro. End of the day, that's how it works.
Cool. So what I'm hearing is you've kind of experienced personally the feeling of suffering, which you don't like.
Yeah.
It seems kind of intrinsically bad to you, and like by extension, you think that other beings, whether they're human or non-human, suffering would be bad for them. Yeah. And if it's the case that animals are suffering as a result of farming, does that mean that it becomes morally wrong to buy the products?
In that case, see, there's only one argument which I guess I'm trying to get my head around, which could make sense to be like, no, it's still not moral law, which is the only case on that is that if the animal is now, let's say it's already been harmed, already has had that happen to it, but Now if it's under your knowledge or not, that's another thing. But now if that product is on shelf, the fact that if you buy that product or not, if it's still going to remain on the shelf, that's the debate whether it's morally right or wrong. Because at that point, if you don't buy it, either someone else will buy it or the product goes to waste. Which at that point, the animal suffering has gone to a result of nothing.
Right.
At that point, that's the only way you can see that no, it's not morally wrong. Otherwise, if that you not buying that product specifically would then be able to end suffering overall at, let's say, that farm because you boycott that product, then yeah.
Yes, right. So you care about the outcomes, you care about whether it makes a difference to the suffering, and if it was the case that whether or not you buy the animal product, if it makes no difference to animals on the other end of it, then there wouldn't be any point in doing it.
Because at that point, then you are what? You're then after the animal suffering. Now you've seen the suffering happen to give you product, but now your product, if you then say no, I'm not buying this, no nothing, and it's not going to make a difference, at that point I'm like, okay, fair enough, good on you, but bro, that also then can result in wastage if no one else buys it.
Right,
and at the end of the day,
it comes down to the outcomes for you.
Yeah,
which,
the outcome is always that's the end product.
Yeah,
that's what it comes down to.
Do you think that consumers can influence the number of products being made?
Well, yes, there's proof of that, which is simple as if high number of consumers, like you look in corporate history, a high number of consumers boycott a product, either the product's option is either it goes off shelves or the company that makes the product has to change the way it's made, change things about it. There have been many, I can't think of an example on the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure anyone, especially this on YouTube, you can Google it, where brands have had to change things from packaging to suppliers to everything because their product was boycotted. And if the media gets attention to it, if it goes on, even online, goes viral online, then that high amount of consumers can make a very large difference. In that case,
So you have reason to believe that the behaviors of the consumers in terms of what they buy, be it clothing or food or trying to avoid certain packaging, does seem to influence the products being brought into the society.
Oh yeah, completely. Because hell, you look at fashion alone, like you brought up, and all that. Over time, what we're seeing is now there's a decrease. Fast fashion is still a thing, but now more people are caring about the ethics behind it. Because of that, some brands are straight up going to start losing money. We're seeing brands that if now they can't prove that they're ethically sound, that people will stop buying their clothing. That we're seeing that small distant thing over time. We're still early on in this, movement that you would call it. We're still early on. But as time continues, these brands they'll suffer if they don't change their ways ethically.
Right. The companies will make less money if they don't change with the public opinion.
And the best way, corporate, and anyone who runs the business, one of the main goals is survival, profitability, and all that. And the best way, majority of the best ways you actually will make long-term profit and see a long-term lifespan is be ethically sound.
What do you think the average life is like for a farmed animal in the UK?
In the UK, I'll be real, I would say I've been to only a handful of farms I'll be here in the UK, or maybe less than a handful. From what I've seen, I've seen chicken coops which are crowded. I think online I've seen the crowded ones and all that. But then I've also seen where it's free range, where the animals seem to be happy. I can't actually confirm if they are, so I'm not going to put my word on that. But in the terms of that treatment, from the visuals of it, it doesn't seem that it's the worst scaling, but it does seem that it could be better.
Let's imagine that hypothetically someone made a documentary that went through the standard legal practices, and they only showed UK footage with examples of what's happening to the animals from hundreds of farms.
If they saw the general practice on how they're being treated in the UK and all that, and it would seem to be, again, the UK's basis, especially the public, was to see it, their general reaction might actually, I don't know the standard practice, so I can't comment on it yet. I haven't seen it. But unlike that, the UK, if they were to see them and it was socially unacceptable, which would be able to be determined very quickly, if you'll see something and be like, okay, I don't like this. Then yeah, no, it'll make a ripple effect. Again, sorry if I'm being vague or
No,
not.
that's fine.
Yeah.
If you were to find out that, let's say, even like free range and the animal products that are available to you are causing large amounts of suffering to animals, if that were true and you were convinced of that, would you then feel that it's morally wrong to buy animal products?
Well, at that point, I guess at that point you can look at it as morally wrong when it's quite obvious that the animals suffering was prevalent and all that, and that because if you're thinking about in a large population sense, if you can make a change by no longer buying that product, then yeah, it can be then considered as morally wrong. If you get what I'm saying, it links back to my previous point.
Yes, the idea of affecting the outcomes for the animals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Overall, it's the outcome, the end product that matters.
I agree, because I think that the outcome is what matters to the animal.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about ethics, I guess it should be what matters to us when we're talking about whether it's okay to do it to them. But that's interesting then, because it seems like whether you agree or disagree with the initial statement seems to now come down to an empirical question of whether these products are causing suffering to animals.
Yeah, that's what it will come down to that point. It will, regardless of which way you want to look at it, it will come down to just are the animals being harmed by the product itself, like as you said.
Well, I'll leave it there. Thank you so much. I'll give you a card actually before you go.
No worries.
With my YouTube channel on it. So my YouTube channel is called The Human Hancock. I'm generally trying to just explore people's beliefs about animal ethics, in a way to promote veganism, really. There's a documentary here that I'd really recommend called Land of Hope and Glory. And it's essentially the hypothetical documentary I discussed with you, where it shows only standard legal practices, and it goes through the processes of how we get animal products to our plates.
Yeah.
Like I said, all UK footage, not showing individual acts of abuse, just legal standard practices, and I got over like 100 UK farms.
Well, then in that case, I'll give it a watch and all that.
Amazing.
Man.
Well, I appreciate that.
I'll check it out when I'm home.